Our first presentation on the free paper by the topic of correlation of lifestyle habits with HbA1c and blood pressure measurements in young adult medical students of Pakistan by none other than Dr. Wafa Kaisar, who is Assistant Professor of Medicine at Gulab Devi Educational Complex, and she is Joint Secretary Pakistan Society of Internal Medicine. And PSIM की एक और छोटी सी रूह रवा. The stage is to you, Dr. Wafa.
I'm thankful to Professor Tariq Wasim, who chose me to present this free paper. This was his brainchild, and this was actually a multi-center study that we had done, and it's now gone for publishing as well. It became a part of our research when diabetes research group was formed by PSIM initially, and different projects were taken up, and so this was one of the projects that we took up at that time. Right. So just disclosure that all the logistics of this study, because this was a multi-center study, it was conducted at 16 medical colleges across Pakistan. The logistics of setting up the screening camps, collecting data, was done by Feroz Sons Limited through an academic grant. It has been submitted to BMC Public Health. This is the cutout from that, investigating the lifestyle habits and cardiometabolic health among young adults in Pakistan. It's still under review. I would also like to appreciate all the principal investigators across the 16 colleges and the sub-investigators who made this study possible for us to compile. Why did we choose this study? The silent alarms that we cannot ignore as a community. We are headed towards increasing burden and prevalence of hypertension, diabetes, and other non-communicable diseases. And what is the cornerstone to be able to manage these problems in the future is prevention. And that is the reason we wanted to find out the burden in our younger age groups and to implement or maybe to start thinking or initiate or spark a conversation about prevention in these age groups so that more awareness is created. Pre-diabetes by the numbers, as you can see, about 37% of US adults older than 20 and 51% of those older than 65 have pre-diabetes. And globally, 471 million people will be suffering from pre-diabetes, by 2035. And only lifestyle intervention can bring this down to 20%. Type 2 diabetes is a rising threat in the youth. And what happens with pre-diabetes? Everything that you can imagine that happens with diabetes as well. 1 in 5 aged 12 to 18 years has pre-diabetes. 1 in 4 aged 19 to 34 years has pre-diabetes. I have taken this little test that is recommended over here, which is diabetes risk test. It's on the CDC website. So I recommend everybody should do it. Pre-diabetes, I'm going to quickly go over this slide. I think we've seen this slide many, many times. The complications of microvascular system, of the macrovascular system, it's existing with pre-diabetes as much as it exists with full-blown diabetes. So cerebrovascular accidents, cardiovascular disease, diabetic nephropathy, neuropathy, peripheral vascular disease, foot damage, amputations, diabetic retinopathy, vision loss, all of the problems that we are already aware of have also now become a part of the clinical complications seen with long-standing pre-diabetes. And the other menace, when you talk about diabetes, you talk about hypertension as well. So what causes young age hypertension? Sedentary lifestyles, addiction to fast food consumptions or food that are rich in salt content and polyunsaturated fats, horrible, I would say, or irregular sleeping habits, smoking, alcohol, substance abuse, work or relationship-related stress. While Gen Z is very much about limiting themselves to, boundaries of work, I feel the people who fall in the middle are still working odd hours, not saying no, and there's a lot of stress and competition. The older ones are trying to compete with the younger ones, so I think work-related stress is something that everybody is facing. And then being overweight. Obesity in terms of increased BMI, but not only increased BMI, also the presence of the body fat percentage. I don't think I need to talk about the burden of hypertension in detail as well. This is a study that was published in the AHA journal, and this was conducted in France that told us about all the end organ damages that are related to hypertension, which is HMOD. Heart failure, 28%, ischemic heart disease. I have put this slide here just to bring to the crux or the rationale of the study that we conducted and why we laid importance on checking blood pressure and checking for HbA1c levels in these young, apparent, healthy individuals. So hospital burden, almost about 385,000 hospitalizations, 6.2 million hospital days spent, 1.15 million ischemic heart disease cases, dementia cases, 1.26 million renal failure cases, and mortalities, 55,000 deaths almost, and 498,000 of years of life lost due to hypertension. And if you extrapolate this, if you had to quote our studies, I think we are worst. As far as diabetes is concerned, our national prevalence is the highest. It's about 30.8%, and hypertension doesn't fall behind as well. So the objectives of my study, which was correlation of the lifestyle habits, was to check or explore the relationship of HbA1c measurements and blood pressure in young healthy adults, and to also explore the impact of exercise, diet, and sedentary behavior on these said variables. We also wanted to identify what percentage of our population already was suffering from either obesity, prediabetes, or diabetes itself. The study design, it was a cross-sectional analytical study that took place simultaneously at multiple centers from December 22 to May 23. 1,613 participants were ultimately, the data was collected from 16 medical colleges. The age bracket that we checked was about 18 to 25 years of age. We had aimed to collect about 1,850 students were initially enrolled, but we lost some consent, we lost some follow-up, some people were not happy with pricking, so ultimately the sample size was 1,613. There were questionnaires to investigate their lifestyle choices and their habits. The anthropometrics were done at the screening camp. The BP, blood pressure, was checked by a standardized Omron sphygmomanometer, which was digital, and 2 readings were taken by following the protocol given to us by ISH, and the average was recorded as the blood pressure. And the HbA1c was recorded on the point-of-care testing device provided by Ferosans, and it was made sure that these devices were standardized all across all of the screening camps. Exclusions, anybody falling outside the age bracket, already known diabetic on medication, any chronic illnesses for which they were taking medications, any young patient with liver disease or kidney disease, those were all ruled out. So particularly all healthy students were enrolled in the study. This is the gender distribution. 36.6% were males and 63.4% were females. I think this follows the medical college pattern as well, that now we have more female students compared to male students. So similarly, the enrollment was also like that. The age group that fell at the maximum was 44% of students fell in the 22 to 24 years of age, which I perceived as students of 4th year and final year mostly. So I think the clinically oriented students were volunteered more to be part of the study. Private and public colleges both were included. We had students more from public colleges. The body mass index that was recorded, as you see, I've highlighted over here. The overweight percentage was 20 and the obese was 26.2. So when you talk about an increased BMI, about 46% of the individuals that were enrolled in the study, almost 50%, were in an overweight category. And the HbA1c that we recorded, just about 0.9% showed an HbA1c of more than 6.5 to be labeled as diabetic, and 10.9% were in the pre-diabetes range. Those who turned out to be diabetic were again then tested with fasting plasma glucose levels on their serum, and then they were also tested for autoimmune diabetes as well. 3 of them turned out to be with autoimmune. We put them on insulin, and the others we had to start as type 2 diabetes for their treatment. So the observations that were made, 88.2% HbA1c fell in the normal category. 10.9, this is just a graphical representation of what I've already spoken about in the previous table. You can see the pre-diabetic and the diabetic population as well, and the weight category distribution. So 20% overweight and 26% obese. And if nothing is done at this point, perhaps they also become obese, the overweight ones. The prevalence of the hypertension in the study population was extremely low to draw an inference. So I have not put that here. Lifestyle data was very interesting. 47 or 48%, almost half of the students did report that they had very unhealthy breakfast attitude. They did not either have breakfast, had a very unhealthy breakfast, and most of them skipped their breakfast, which is also associated with poor cardiometabolic health as proven by studies. And again, unhealthy breakfast attitude means when they skipped it, it led to low physical activity, low engagement in being more actively involved in any of the sports that was happening during their school hours or their college hours. Fast food consumption was seen in about 17.2%, sweet beverage use was 6.4%, physical inactivity in the form of mild household chores, just perhaps going from one room to another, not engaging in proper activity was 80.7%. That perhaps has no effect on your own cardiometabolic health. As we look at the small green little yellow bar, 9% engaged in exercise more than 3 hours per week. And is that because all medical students just sit and read all day long? Possibility. If we could extrapolate it to other students, we could see if they're more active, because medical students do spend all of their time studying. Right. Okay. So as far as, I've put this slide not for you to get confused. The lifestyle choices just showed that there was an insignificant p-value when compared to the diabetic, pre-diabetic, and the non-diabetic. So all the parameters of the lifestyle that we checked did not show a significant correlation with the prevalence of diabetes. Those were the results of my study. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the limitations as well. We spoke about a specific age bracket, which was 18 to 24. Young adults may perhaps 35 tak bhi we can take to subjects. Also, it was limited to a very special cohort of medical students who were perhaps slightly more educated than the other regular youth that's there. It was a cross-sectional study design. And so causality was not established, and there was no control group. So in my conclusion, there's a mentionable prevalence of diabetes and prediabetes in the young adults. The hazardous lifestyle parameters proposed by our study group could not show significant association with diabetes and hypertension, which highlights the need to identify further potentially hazardous factors in our population. And that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions now. Thank you.